How to say no. Saying no can be extremely difficult. It's easy in our heads. We have the decision made, we know where we want to go, what direction we want to take, but saying no out loud can be hard. And if you have strong creative goals for your content or any kind of project, saying no is vital to achieving them. And that means saying no to family, friends, missing out on hangouts, missing out on certain events to achieve what you want. And if you're a former people pleaser like I am, or maybe even a current people pleaser, you especially have trouble saying no to these types of things. But I'm here to help. I'm Chloé, and I have 3 tips to help say no and to help you prioritize your goals. Hey, about to head off to the grocery store. Before I head off, I'll give you tip number 1. To start saying no, you have to put your work and creative goals as a priority. Once you start doing this, it becomes a lot easier to say no. I had to rewire my brain into this thinking, but I had to put my creative goals, my content goals at the top of my list each day. So much so that anything that got in the way of it, that was pretty much optional, was a no. And it was easy to do because I saw my creative goals as something I really, really wanted to achieve and still want to achieve. And anything that doesn't feed into that, anything that doesn't really build towards that, just had to get out. It wasn't as fun, it wasn't as exciting as it used to be. So learning to say no is easy to do when you focus on yourself, your priorities, and realizing that anything in the way of that is a roadblock, and if it's optional, should be cut out. Back from the grocery store, putting away groceries right now. Wanted to get into tip number 2, and that is being okay with isolation. And I guess a dual tip in this one is getting rid of the fear of missing out. If you have lofty goals for yourself, if you have a creative project, a business, you're trying to start a career in content, you're gonna have to say no. And saying no is a lot easier when you're okay with isolation. You're okay with being alone. Because in reality, you have to make time to work on yourself. You have to separate. It could be a lonely road, especially if you're not going about it with a partner or not going about it with a team. You have to be okay with grinding by yourself, with not being relatable to a lot of people, with not really having anyone to go to for questions or decisions. You have to be okay with that. And in that loneliness, I guess you have to go through, you have to get rid of the fear of missing out. And I have bad FOMO. I want to be at every hangout. I want to go to every event. I want to be involved in everything I can. But again, you can't I can't when I have this goal of building out my content. So I have to get rid of that fear. I have to say, you know what? I'm going to miss this hangout. I'm going to miss this party. I'm not going to be able to go to see that movie. You have to get rid of that fear. Be okay with saying, I have to make time for myself, especially if it's on a weekend. The only 2 free days we have when working a 9 to 5 to really get things done. So getting rid of the fear of missing out and be okay with being alone, the isolation you feel, separating yourself for a moment for the short term, because in the long term, you're gonna have that time. You're gonna have the enthusiasm, the focus for your friends and family. But right now is grind time. So get rid of that fear, be okay with isolation, and then get ahead on that work. Final tip, you can't care what people think, even if it gets them upset. Choosing yourself, choosing to focus on your projects, your goals, and choosing to sacrifice certain times with certain people, it can inevitably get people upset. It can get people annoyed, people might not understand what you're doing, they might think you're leaving them behind. And maybe that is the case, maybe you are leaving them behind purposefully or just by accident because of the way life naturally takes us and separates us from people who have different goals in mind. But you have to be able to be okay with that. You have to be able to look at yourself and choose yourself still and realize that the people who really support you will support you. Yes, you have to be there for people. You have to be a supportive friend. You still have to show up. But there are times to take for yourself. And your true friends should and will understand that. And people who don't, well, are they your true friends? Are they people you genuinely want to surround yourself with? Do they understand what you're actually doing? That's a question right there. But so many of these questions come up, and you can't let the noise affect you. You can't let people's disagreements with what you're doing, people's misunderstanding of what you're doing get in the way of your end game. If people are upset, maybe look at it within a reasonable way and see how you could help, but keep your goals in mind. Keep focusing on you, keep the train, and keep going, no matter what. The real people will support you and never stand in your way. Thanks for watching. If you found any of the tips in this video helpful, give a like and a subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.